showing you how I make my spider web tops. I posted a TikTok and a few people were really interested in learning the pattern, so I decided that I would make a tutorial for you guys. So for today, I'm using a worsted 4-weight yarn. This is the Lion Brand's sustainable line, the respun 100% recycled polyester. Apparently a bonus bundle. I don't know if they still do those. I bought this yarn forever ago and finally decided it needed to get used. This is considered a medium 4-weight yarn. I'd say it's slightly thinner. With a regular worsted weight, this top goes by very quickly, which is really nice. I noticed when I made the first panel for this one, it did take me a little longer than usual. So just keep in mind, the thinner the yarn, the longer it might take you depending on your skill level. I'm also using a 4mm crochet hook rather than a 5mm. I just wanted this top to have tighter webbing across each bar, which you'll see what I mean here in a little bit. And then I'm also using a stitch marker. So to start, we need to make a magic circle. So the way I make my magic circle is I take my tail end of my yarn facing me over my 2 fingers here, and then I'm gonna take this yarn and I'm gonna wrap it under. And when I reach the top, I'm gonna cross it over the top of the tail end of my yarn. I'm then going to take my hook and insert my hook under the tail end or the bottom yarn and grab the other yarn, which would be your working yarn, pulling it up and twisting my hook so it looks something like that. And then I like to just hold this little piece here, take my fingers out of there. My working yarn should be in my hand. And I'm gonna chain 1 and adjust the tail of my work. And now you have a magic circle. So to start, I'm gonna place a standing double crochet. If you don't like the look of this, you can always do a chain 2 or chain 3 at the start of each row, but this is just how I prefer to start each row. So I'm gonna place a single crochet into the ring, but then I'm gonna take my hook and I'm going to insert my hook into the bottom front bar of the single crochet. I'm gonna yarn over and pull up a loop, so I have 2 on my hook, and then I'm gonna yarn over and pull through 2. Now I have a standing double crochet. I'm gonna chain 1, and I'm gonna place a regular double crochet into the ring, and then I'm gonna chain 1 and place another double crochet. And I'm gonna do this until I have 12 double crochets in my ring. So that means with each chain stitch, there should be 24 stitches. All right, so this is my 12th double crochet. I'm gonna chain 1 and slip stitch to the top of my standing double crochet that I made when I started this row. So going into this stitch, yarning over, pulling through, and then pull through the same loop on your hook. And then I'm gonna take my tail and I'm gonna pull it and tighten and close that ring. I'm gonna chain 1, and there's row 1. So you should have 12 double crochets and 12 chain spaces. You won't really notice the chain spaces right away, but they're there. So after we've slip stitched into the top of our stacked double crochet or standing double crochet, I'm gonna chain 1, and in the same stitch we slip stitched into, I'm gonna place another standing double. So I'm gonna place a single crochet. Again, I'm gonna take my hook and put it through the front our bottom bar of the single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2. So we chained 1 in the previous row. In this row, we're gonna chain 3 between double crochets. So 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna skip over my chain space from the previous row. I'm gonna yarn over and I'm gonna place a double crochet directly on top of the previous row's double crochet. So it looks something like this. So again, I'm gonna chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Skip my chain space, place a double crochet on top of the last double crochet from the previous row. And I'm gonna do that all the way around until the end, and I'll show you how to connect your rows. Okay, so I just made my last double crochet in this row. So, oops, no I didn't. 1, 2, 3, half, or double crochet. Okay, that's my last double crochet in the row. As you can see, there's a chain space here. So we're gonna chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're gonna slip stitch into the top of our first stitch in this row, our first double crochet. Slip stitch. Okay, so this is what your work should be looking like. I'm gonna tighten that center. There we go. So this is what your work should look like right here. This is 2 rows. So now we want these spaces, these chain spaces, to start to grow and create the spider web effect. So we started with 1 chain, we grew to 3. So I'm gonna add 2 stitches to my next row. So instead of 3 chains, we're gonna be doing 5, and then from 5, 7, from 7, 9, and you're just gonna increase by 2. It should always be an odd number because we started with 1. So I'm gonna show you how to do the next few rows, and then from there, you're just gonna continue until it reaches a specific length, and I will show you how to measure that and make sure it fits you properly. So one more time, I'm going to show you how to do the stacked double crochet. So in the same stitch we slip stitched into, we're going to place a single crochet. We're going to put our hook through the bottom bar of the single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through 2. And so we did 3 chains last row. So now I'm gonna do 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yarn over, insert your hook into the top of that double crochet, pull up a loop. And that is what that should look like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yarn over. Okay, so we're at the end of row 3, and I'm going to chain 5, and slip stitch to the top of our stacked double crochet from the beginning of the row. And then chain one. You can see how it's growing. Chain spaces are creating that spider web effect. And we're just gonna keep going. So we just did 5 chains here. So now we're gonna do 7 chains in our next row. And as your work starts to grow and get kind of floppy, it can sometimes get confusing where the beginning of your row is. So that's where our stitch marker comes into play. From here moving forward, I'm gonna place a stitch marker in my very first stitch, just so that I can identify where the beginning of my row is. Because like I said, you'll notice as it gets really floppy and like folds on itself and things like that, sometimes you think you're in the right stitch and you're not. So I'm gonna start our row off with our stacked double crochet. I'm gonna take my stitch marker and just place it in the top of that stitch and chain 7. And then half double crochet into the following double crochet. All right, I will do this row and meet you back at the end. All right, so I'm at the end of my row here. So I'm going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna remove this stitch marker and I'm gonna slip stitch into the top of my first stitch, chain 1. So from here, it's pretty straightforward. You're just gonna keep increasing by 2 chains each row. And you're gonna do this until 2 sections of chain space, so until something like this reaches each shoulder blade. And I'll show you that in a second. But before I show you, I just wanna put on the screen here how many chains you should have per row. So this is me at 7 rows, so this is my halfway point. So I just wanted to show you what it was looking like. We are gonna end up blocking these. And keep in mind, you would need to make 2. You need 2 of these panels. But this is where I am at row 7. I'm gonna keep going until I hit row 14. Remember to make sure you keep measuring it to your body and make sure that this section right here goes from shoulder to shoulder. Here's me showing you how to measure from shoulder to shoulder. You don't want it to reach the end or your top will fall off of your shoulders. So I just finished my 14th row. I cut my yarn, tied it off, and we're looking very curly. So we are going to pin this to a foam board and stretch it and block it. So here they are blocking. I'm gonna leave them here for a little bit, maybe run the steamer over them. This one is a little wonky. I'm not sure what's going on, but considering the top's gonna look really flowy, I'm not super concerned. So if your spider web looks a bit wonky, that's okay. Just stretch that sucker out. But if you'll see the sections on here, they're stretching far more, so these should be able to reach your shoulders now, even if it is like midway point here. We just want to be able to stretch as far as we can over to each shoulder. And then once these are done blocking, I will show you how to connect the 2 panels, and then we will start on the sleeves. Okay, these have been blocking for a little bit, and I'm about to unpin them and show you how to attach them. But before I unpin these, I want to show you and give you a good visual, because it's such a stringy project. Sometimes it's hard to see what you should be doing when I'm trying to show someone this. So we're going to find the center of our work. So we're going to start with this panel. And these are my stacked double crochets, so I'm going to use this as my center. So this point and this point should reach from either shoulder. So we're going to attach this section and this section onto the other panel in the same spots. So again, finding my center, my stacked double crochets, this point and this point should reach my shoulders. So this is the section we're attaching over here. Now let me unpin them and show you how we're going to attach them. So here are my panels unpinned, and I have the tops facing one another right here, with the right side facing up on both panels. So now I'm going to take stitch markers. So I know this is my center because of my end, but also because of my stacked double crochets. So I'm going to pin this double crochet to the same double crochet on the opposite side of the top. So I've connected my pieces with a stitch marker in the same section on both sides of the top. I've stuck it on my mannequin here so you have a better idea of what that should look like. So now we need to decide where we're going to be closing for our sleeves. In my opinion, I would leave 2 chain sections just like we did the top, and connect on the same side on the opposite. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I will show you what that looks like pinned together. This is what we're looking like on the sides now, with it pinned with the stitch marker. In the back. Looking good, looking good. So now we just need to connect it. In this case, with the sides here, we're going to connect these differently than we will the top. But to start, I'm going to show you how to connect this chain to this one. I have finished one sleeve. I still need to weave in that end. I am just doing a quarter sleeve because I'm not a huge fan of the really long sleeves that kind of go over your hands. I am constantly doing things with my hands. So if the sleeves are too long, then I can't do what I need to do and it stresses me out. So I like the quarter sleeve. This will get blocked again. I know we're looking noodly on the bottom here, but now I'm gonna show you how I completed this side. So how I attached the seam up here and how I created this sleeve. Hi, Clyde. So again, this might be kind of hard to see, but I'm gonna do my absolute best. I'll put it back on the mannequin if we need to so we can identify spaces. But because we already have one sleeve done, it should be fairly easy for me to show you what we're doing. So this is our neck. And this is where we attach that stitch marker. So now we just need to attach our yarn and slip stitch down this section of chaining, which is just next to your neckline across the shoulder. So I'm gonna do that by making a slip knot, and inserting my hook. I'm gonna turn my work over like this, just so it's easier for me to work on because I'm right-handed. I'm gonna remove our stitch marker. And through the tops of these double crochets, I'm gonna place a slip stitch. Just like that. Now we're attached. And now I'm just gonna slip stitch through each chain all the way down until I get to the tops of these double crochets. And when I'm slip stitching, I'm just picking up one side of the chain, just one little loop on there, like that, pulling my yarn through and pulling my yarn through. So slip stitch all the way to the end till you get to the tops of your double crochets, and then I will show you the next steps. So I just finished all of my chains. So now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the 2 double crochets. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to turn my work like this to the open space where the sleeve's going. And I'm going to spread this section, these 2 panels apart from one another so that I'm looking at them like this. So we know that my last round ended on 27 chains. I know that I want 2 of these chain sections to consist of my sleeve on both panels, but we need to make an enclosure on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a standing double crochet here. I'm going to chain 27. I'm going to place a double crochet here. I'm going to chain 27, place a double crochet here, and then chain 27 and connect it to the opposite panel right over here on this double crochet. So let me show you how to do that. So picking up my yarn, in the double crochet that we slip stitched into on your left panel is where we're going to place our standing double crochet. So in this space here where we've already slip stitched, I'm going to insert my hook, place a single crochet, insert my hook in through that front bar. There we go. So there's our first double crochet. So I'm going to chain 27. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to place my double crochet on top of the following double crochet down the side of the panel. I'm going to do that one more time all the way down into this double crochet. So one more space. I'm going to place double crochet. Okay, so we have filled those 2 spaces with another set of chains. So now we need to connect our sleeves. So from this double crochet, I'm going to chain 27. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we have our 27 chains. And then like I mentioned before, we're taking these 2 chain spaces for our sleeve on the opposite side of the panel. So we need to double crochet into this space. So I'm bringing my chain over. I'm going to sandwich my sides together again, but with my new side of the, so the panel you'll now be working on should be facing you. So I have my chained panel underneath, and then I have this one on top. So I need to find my space that I'm double crocheting into, which is this one here. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, pull up a loop, place my double crochet, and now your panels are connected. I'm going to finish this round with 27 chains, a double crochet, 27 chains, and a slip stitch into the top of my standing double crochet, and I will see you at the beginning of the next row. Okay, so I just slip stitched into the top of my stacked double crochet where we started. Let me flip this on its side so you can see how it's looking. So we have our neckline, our shoulder is attached, and then here is the first row of our sleeve. And you can see it's connected down here by this nice long chain. And that will help keep the sleeves nice and flowy. So now we can continue around this sleeve to our preferred length with these number of chains, or because I don't like how open these sleeves are or how open the chain spaces are with this count, I'm gonna split mine in half. So I have 27 chains, half of that is 13.5. So I'm going to count 13 stitches and place a double crochet in the 14th space, and then make 13 chains and double crochet into the top of my double crochet stitch, and then chain 13. And I'm gonna be counting these chains as I go as well to make sure that I'm placing my stitch in the 14th space. And then when you do that, it'll look something like this, where the spacing is a little closer together, so it makes a little more of an enclosed sleeve. If I wanted to, technically, I could have done just a few rows like this and then split it in half again, or then split it in half again. Granted, that is gonna make your sleeve kind of cone down, but with this 13 chains between, it's perfect for me. So that's what I'll be doing. You can do it however you want. That's the beauty of this top, is it's totally up to you how many rows and how many breaks you want to make in your sleeves. I'll show you how to do the first break, and then I'm gonna send you off to the races, and I will meet you back at the end when our tops are complete. I am gonna block mine before I show the finished product, so just keep that in mind. If you see mine and you're like, what the heck, hers is so flat and straight, and I blocked it. And I'm gonna use the same blocking method I used to lightly block the front and back panels before we even connected everything. So I'm gonna pin everything, I'm gonna steam everything, I'm gonna leave it for a few hours and come back to it. I'm gonna start our row with a standing double crochet and the same stitch we slip stitched into. I'm gonna chain 13, which is half a stitch less than half of this row. So yours is gonna be different depending on how many chains you ended with on your side panels. So if you ended with 29, that's gonna be 14.5. So you would then chain 14 stitches and place a double crochet in the 15th chain. I'm doing 13, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And I'm gonna count in my chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's my 14th chain. I'm gonna yarn over and insert my hook into that chain, place my double crochet, and you've just completed your first chain space. And so now, because this is like an even amount of stitches per each section, when I chain my next 13, I'm just gonna place a double crochet in the top of that following double crochet from the previous row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yarn over. I'm gonna place double crochet right there. So now you're just gonna do this all the way around and slip stitch into the top of this guy. And then if you don't wanna break your stitches anymore, you just make a standing double crochet in the beginning of your row and continue on with your 13 chains and that double crochet right in the middle there. Just keep going, add that length, and I will meet you when you're done. So here it is, completely blocked. I do still have a little bit of like crinkling down here, which I plan on re-steaming it while it's hanging on the mannequin, but I really wanted to show you guys the outcome. I'm so excited about this one. My first one was good too, but like you can just tell where I've like improved on my stitch work. And I know this might not be the best tutorial in the world, but I hope this helped guide you in the right direction with your top. And I hope that it looks amazing, and I'm sure it does because you're amazing. But I'm gonna put some clothes on. I'm in my sweats and show you guys what this looks like on. I'm so excited. We did it. Oh, this definitely needs to be blocked again. Like, no questions asked. It's very curly on the bottom. The back keeps riding up and looking way shorter than the front, which it shouldn't be. My last one, I didn't really have to block because I used a much stretchier yarn. This acrylic I chose is just not very stretchy. If you've worked with Lion Brand's recycled fibers before, you know they're not very stretchy. I wasn't really anticipating this though. So I will probably end up adding some more rows on the bottom, but for now, I'm gonna wait and see how it stretches over time and just kind of go with it, because I don't know, I really like it though. It looks great. I know that this tutorial is probably super chaotic, but I hope that it was at least a good guide on how to do this, and that I introduced some hopefully good tips on how to manage a project like this one. I know when I first started, stuff like this can be really intimidating until you're doing it and you're like, hey, wait a second, this is so easy. So I would probably call this a experienced beginner, early intermediate pattern, but that's just my opinion. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments on how I could have explained better, or if you just have like general questions that maybe just didn't come up in the video, please let me know in the comments below, and I will try and reply to everyone. I mean, I'm pretty small, so I probably will reply to everyone. But I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that it was helpful, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. I'm moving, and I'm hoping for a better film setup in my new home. So hopefully some more like consistent stuff coming out on here. I'm also still figuring out the vibe, figuring out the style of content I want to make. So leave some tips also, that'd be super helpful. I do have a camera and I do have a mic that I plan on using very soon, but they are packed right now. So I'm sorry if you can tell this is filmed on my iPhone. I did my best, and I know people really wanted me to do this, so I hope that this was helpful. Okay, bye.